So, it has been a very dire, dark time for the game industry in the last week or so as we are recording this. Crimes have been unearthed, footage been stolen, a 17-year-old arrested officially in the UK.
Did that happen, did it? I missed that.
Yeah, officially the FBI and the UK police have
what a dweeb.
arrested a 17-year-old. Yeah, what an idiot. Like, what did he expect?
What a
He
grade
was also
A
being arrested
dweeb.
for hacking Uber as well, so he's done it before. He's an idiot. But yeah, GTA 5, not 5, oh god. GTA 6 got leaked to the public through some Slack channels using two-factor authentication, and it showed off some footage of what is supposedly and now confirmed as being GTA 6.
It was a lot. It was a lot of footage, wasn't it? Like it wasn't just a little
like
bit.
90 videos.
Yeah, it was a good chunk
They
of
uploaded.
footage.
It was enough that you could see what the rumors were, like which rumors were accurate and which were not, because there were some things in it that were, you know, true to what was being said. So the two main characters, one being a girl, which is a first for GTA, which is insane to me given it's like a 17 game series. And you know, the idea of it being set in Vice City and all that sort of stuff, but being, you know, an entertainment industry where people who don't know how games work pretend they know how games work because they played a video game once, tends to be everyone kicked up a shit fit about how the game looked like shit because it was not looking like Grand Theft Auto 5 when it was very early in development. And it's so silly, and the whole thing can be really summarized as "shut up, you idiots."
Yeah. I mean, Trent, did you think it looked good?
You know, it looks good for where it would be, Ali. I mean, it's probably going to be like another, 3, 4, 5 years. Like, I mean, it's going to be an end of generation game, like guaranteed. Like, it's not going to be out next week. Like,
that's a very nuanced opinion for the games industry, Trent.
I mean, it looks shit.
Like, there we go. That's what I wanted.
There we go. That's what I was looking for.
I mean, like, it did look shit, to be fair, but that's because it's not meant for people to see yet, because it's people working in a bloody office in wherever the hell Rockstar is now.
It honestly amazes me how little people understand about how games work. Like, this is the thing. This is the thing that surprised me about this. I mean, I think we all knew that gamers basically don't have a clue about game development, given that, previous controversies have included people thinking you just press a button and that turns on multiplayer. But
yeah, my favorite one is when they do like the online connectivity stuff and they're like, oh, why doesn't this have online? And it's like a game from literally 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So Alan, you just download the Unity module, which has like the multiplayer package, and it just does like all the multiplayer.
This is true. You can just press the button that turns on multiplayer.
Yeah. So we already knew that people generally did not really understand how video games work. But what I did honestly think that was that most people, and when I say most, I really do mean most people, understood that game development happens in stages, right? So you've got the early prototypes and then they slowly build up to what would be the final thing. Apparently people don't. Apparently I was giving them too much credit because they expect it to be in a final state in terms of the visuals and stuff. Pretty early.
Everything needs to be a vertical slice. Always give me vertical slices.
It's like
I would also say that this is the fault of the game industry as well. Like 100% is the fault of like Ubisoft. Again, I'm dunking them to this is their fault for doing nonsense like Watch Dogs. And also the whole
creating that kind of the visuals, like faking trailers, as such.
And I would also then say as well, this is the fault of the games industry on a further level for saying that beta is an extra way of saying demo.
Yeah, because so I think you're.
It's the language that's being stolen, basically.
Yeah, I do think you're onto something there. Like when people say beta, they think it's an early version of the game, right? But in reality, the betas that games companies put out these days are demos, really. Like
I'm sorry, but
they're pretty close to complete products.
Like Modern Warfare 2 beta in the heaviest inverted commas that I can possibly give you right now.
It's not even really. It's a demo.
It's a beta.
It's like an early access to the game. It's like
literally, they're not going to change anything in the month that is before release.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. That's not the point of that. It's just to make it seem more technical and more like mainframey, and we're gonna hack into it and change the beta for the real game when it comes out, like that sort of crap. It shits me because literally it is just it's a language thing, and it's people changing the meaning of the words when not everyone understands that that's happening.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
as
no,
an English
totally agree with
teacher,
you.
it drives me mental. It's so silly. It's co-opting the techie elitism.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. I think that's definitely been a bugbear for me as well. It's mostly for me, what bugs me is people have this impression that you can actually change stuff in a month more than
No.
anything else. It's like they put out the beta, they say, oh, we're getting player feedback and all that kind of stuff. So people immediately assume that that means that the feedback's going to be there for the day one patch or whatever. But that is really not how these things work. I mean, a month out from the
Absolutely.
game, if it's a retail game, the disc has already been printed. Like the
Mm.
game's actually been shipped basically a month
It's
out.
already on the shelves. You just
Yeah.
can't see it.
Yeah. Like the stock is in the channel, you know, it's in the warehouses. It's going out to retailers and stuff. A month out from release is not nearly the length of time that some people seem to think it is. And the reality is that for big games like that, the actual beta happens 3 years
So, like
beforehand.
2.5 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and it did look like GTA 6. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's okay. It honestly, I just wonder how these people think these games get made, you know? Like, do they actually think that somebody sits there and the first thing they do is create the end game character models
Yeah, I
and
love
just
this idea,
shoves them
right?
into the thing, and they look like, you know, the hyper realistic, fully motion captured things from the first build of the game. Like, is that what people actually think? Do they think all the textures are in there, like the trees are blowing gracefully in the wind in the first build of the game? Because that seems to be what people think, and they don't seem to
Does
realize that.
seem to be the energy of the person who did one Unreal Engine high school subject. And they
Yeah,
were like, "Oh, you can just like buy a tree on a shop and you can use the tree. Like, why would you like that's how games work. You just plonk it there. It's done."
I
And
know.
the moment that you look at that sort of thing, it's like I can see where you've gone wrong here because that's not how this works.
Those are the same people though, which would be complaining about if like the assets looks like they were bought assets, would be like, these assets look like they're being bought from a game shop.
I mean, I would be pretty shocked personally if in like a video game that was, you know, said to be AAA or quadruple A, or whatever the hell they're calling it now, if they were all like, "Oh yeah, we just like bought Unity assets off the store," and it's the spider head thing, what was a spider coming in the man's mouth, I would be not pleased.
I would
Be like,
have
why are you using this?
I would have hardcore respect for how based Rockstar would be if they were using Unity assets.
You know what? Yeah,
That
you're right.
that would be based. That would be awesome.
If they just made it as like a 2006 PS2 game, I would be so on board with that. Get rid of all the extra crap. Just make it a 2006 PS2 game with the worst graphics and frame rate I've ever seen in my life. I will love it. I'm on board with it. It was like a quite nice thing though, actually. Though, the developer response to this
has been really
drama,
good.
it's really cool because I love seeing all that sort of early development stuff, like seeing Horizon Zero Dawn. As much as I don't enjoy Horizon Zero Dawn, seeing their like original low poly model for the big T-Rex dinosaur thing,
Well,
that's cool as hell.
I had the same thing about The Last of Us. Not the world's biggest fan of The
Yeah.
Last of Us, but Naughty Dog went and put out some early footage of that game, and it's actually really good to see. Like, because what people don't realize is putting that stuff out is actually quite a big risk for these companies, because there is the chance that people then look at it and take it as the kind of final versions or whatever. I know these games are already out, but there is still that perception that these companies are trying to create, that the stuff they put out is
Absolutely.
of the end quality all the time, and that's the only thing that you see. That's why they're quite hesitant to put this stuff out. But in support of Rockstar, this has been genuinely good to see.
And it's actually made me really interested because now I want to move away because I
Well, the
used to
other
play
thing
a lot
is
of games,
there's
and I
almost
love that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
so I was just going to say there's almost the positive outcome, if there is a positive outcome for this, is that it may actually encourage people to be a bit more open about the game development process and learn a little bit more about it. And we may see more of this stuff, like more actively into the future, which would be good to see.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
the
genuinely
indie
cool.
space has already started to head to. I mean, it always has been, but the indie space has been a lot more heavier in that recently. Like probably for the past year or so, like there's been a lot more. This is where the game is at the moment. I'm just doing these random wireframes and all this other stuff, and then like the game like like 6 months time is starting to look like something cool, and then it's posting heaps on Twitter and stuff like that, but it's still very early, and then suddenly it's like the game's out. Like the indie space has been doing that for probably a few years now, really heavy, and it's really been really cool to see.
Yeah, I want to see more behind the scenes, just in general. I think it's really interesting. I think it's the equivalent of like watching a Mythbusters episode and it figuring out like how things work, and that is so insanely interesting in my personal opinion. And I think one of the coolest ones was actually unpacking. I don't know if you guys saw the unpacking video.
Yeah, where it stands out and then it's like all 3D and stuff.
They're
like
all
that.
3D
Yeah.
objects on a plane that you move around with like a vignette behind it. So it's almost like a forced perspective puzzle, which is, I never would have picked that. I would have assumed it was anything but that, but that's amazing. So, I mean, more of that would be cool.
If you look at the film industry, I think the cinema does a pretty good job of giving people an insight into how stuff gets made. If you're interested in that, like everybody knows about how green screens work and all that, and that's because there is quite a lot of footage out there. There's quite a lot of stuff out there about the making of and all that stuff. So yeah, it'd be nice if the games industry was the takeaway from this was that the games industry needs to educate people better about how games are made. I think that would be a good thing for everybody. It would stop some stupid opinions, if nothing else.
But then Matt, that means that
I don't
they'll
think it would
have to
ever
be
stop
serious about it being art. At the moment they can be like, oh, well, an AAA game being made is like a product. So, the early access game, it's pretty much the final release because they want everyone to see the product as like, this cool, glossy sort of thing. And, there's hardly any bugs or anything in those points because essentially it's, the final game and it's like a month or so from release anyway. Like all that footage and stuff, especially in the AA space, is just basically designed to be like, advertising and, gloss and everything over what the thing is to be like, this is the product. Whereas in the indie space, it's like, we're actually trying hard to make this thing. Yeah.
I guess there's a bit more of a garage band attitude, I think, in indies where there's less at risk for them to share this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's for an indie to share it and be like quirky and niche and weird, like to use an Australian developer as an example, like Grace Bruxner, the person who makes the Frog Detective games, they're quite open about development stuff and they're quite clear about things and they show like cute little tidbits about the game, and that's really, really fun. I could not ever imagine Corey Balrog or Barlog, however you say his name, I forget, I get it wrong every time, I'm so sorry. I don't see him having like a fun little like screenshot of like a God of War scene before it comes out because, oh my god, the PR would kick a shit fit off, you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
I mean that's again the thing that the especially for a game that's still in development, if people see early versions of it, then we just saw from GTA how they respond. So there is that risk that needs to be managed until they're better educated. And like I said, if the takeaway from all of this, if the silver lining as such is that the games industry understands that they need to do a better job of educating people about how games are made, and they find ways to do that, then I would certainly, I think we'll all be in a better place. The expectations.
Give me more bloopers.
the expectations of consumers would be better calibrated, I think, and the understanding of the process will also lead to less. I don't want to say less demanding because gamers are always going to be demanding little shits, but less. How can I even phrase it? People will be people will be more open, I guess, to things being slightly different to the expected model as such. So if people understand that game development is a creative process and you need to make creative decisions, and sometimes those decisions need to be different to the way every other game is made, and that's okay, then I think all of that comes from understanding how games are made. I really do. I think the lack of understanding about how games are made, I think the idea that there's some kind of factory that just kind of churns out games like the cans of soup, I think that is a big part of the problem that this industry has. And I think that the GTA thing is kind of a symptom of that. So hopefully the industry does take something away from this. Hopefully that 17-year-old spends quite a few years in jail. But yeah, I just hope that this doesn't just revert back to the way things were, and that people actually take this as a learning experience, because I think there was something interesting there that happened that will be worth keeping in mind in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be.
Or we just keep having influencers to start up game publishers.
Do you want to talk about that now? Do you want to move that to the next section?
I've been itching to talk about that now.
All right. For those of you who are not aware, Donkey's done a thing. The man who cannot comprehend JRPGs but yet plays them all. He is starting a publishing channel, and I guess this is my hot take, but if one game comes through that and it wasn't going to come out otherwise, that's a massive success. So good on him for funding games out of his own pocket. I will say this idea that if you play games, you know what good games are and how to make games. That's very silly.
That's the thing. That's the thing, right? So Donkey starting a game publisher is great. I encourage everybody to start game publishers if they want to.
He's better than EA.
Well, it's not even just that. It's just, the more people making games, the more people funding games, the better. That's just
but don't YouTubers have that sort of attitude? It's like, oh, this is a game trick to make this like in Mario, it's like the bushes to cloud or whatever. There's an example, like a really stupid example, but you get what I mean. Like, and they're like, oh, that's cheating in game design. Like, you can't do that. That's not real game design.
Well,
like, why would you?
I don't think people. Donkey, I don't think understands the game publishing process at all. For one thing, as the publisher, ideally he doesn't want to be exerting too much creative control over the actual producing of the game anyway. Like he doesn't want to be kind of hands-on with it. The idea of a publisher is they're there as support. They provide funding to help get the game made. They provide marketing and PR support, which given Donkey's channel is certainly something he can offer. But and obviously they get paid at the end of it in return for the services they provide. But a publisher is not a creative force within a game, or they shouldn't be. And when they are,
I don't think he's intending to be, though, going off the video. The video was like pretty clear that he was hands off, which is great.
And I'm certainly not suggesting that he's going to go hands on and go EA on game developers. So that's a good thing. I don't have any problem with that.
John Riccatello in disguise.
my only problem with it is this idea that I have good taste in games, therefore I know how to pick a good game. That is just complete nonsense. Everybody has good taste in games because everybody plays games that they like to play. I've got great taste in games. My great taste in games is different to Alan's great taste in games, but Alan has great taste in games. That doesn't mean any of this.
Taste in games. I have trash. I love goblin trash. I fucking suck.
What I'm saying is, like, you like the games you like, and that's great. Yeah. And everybody has their own taste in games. And Donkey, has issues with the JRPG genre, which I don't have and don't share. But that doesn't mean either of us has an invalid opinion about games. The idea that translates into the ability to find and publish games that are going to be commercially successful and critically successful is just insane. It doesn't work like that. It does not work like that at all.
Because he was talking about how he knows good games, and then he just showed games that were like, critically lauded as being some of the best indie games in the last 10 years. It's like
top 10
Cuphead,
claimed games.
Hollow Knight, Celeste. These games would never have made it without me making videos about them. And it's like, I think they're just good games regardless of that. So,
and the other thing,
I just feel like his vibe's gonna be going towards, so maybe he's gonna go towards like a Gamecock kind of thing, just doing stupid stunts like just to publish these games for like marketing.
Is he gonna make like parents, like newborn parents, name their child Turok? That's
Well,
a,
Win a
that's a
copy
real
of a
thing.
game. Name your kid after the game.
the other thing that's going to be really amusing when Donkey's going to get his crash course in game publishing, trying to do this, games that end up being good aren't necessarily good at the early stages. Understanding the creative vision behind a game is actually not that easy, because what you see in front of you is not what the final product will be. And
Yeah, absolutely.
having seen this myself, having worked in a game company, things look shit. Things look absolutely shit, often right up until the last moment. And you're like, guys, this game's out in like 6 months. It's not good. And they're like, oh, it's going to be good. And
I love this logic as well, that video game development is not just like a colossal, like, just disaster all the way through, like, because it is, and because it's a combination of every single possible technical and artistic vision. You know what I mean?
And-
Like, it's everything. It's art, like visual art. It's music. It's computing. It's writing. It's music. It's everything, and it's an absolute nightmare. And yet, sometimes they're good.
well, it's just these things take time to finish, and the complete product is only the complete product right at the end. Until then, and these days, games get released before they're finalized and they need to be patched afterwards. But you seeing a vision for the game, seeing what the developers are going to make, isn't very easy at all. It is actually very difficult. And
also
I don't
assumes that-
think that Donkey there's no proof that Donkey understands that he's going to be able to look at a game in a very early prototype and say, I see what this game is going to be at the end. That is something entirely different. All he's seen is final products. All he's ever seen is kind of the complete game. And I can guarantee you, Cuphead looked like shit when the developers would have pitched it to a person like Donkey, because these publishing deals have to come in quite early on. And that's why, publishers sometimes publish bad games, and people are like, well, why have you published this game? Well, because the vision at the start was actually quite strong. It's just they haven't been able to execute on it. So I don't, there's just no proof. I mean, I hope that he's successful at it. I really do. I hope that he ends up being a very successful publisher and makes a lot of money, sells out to EA, and then his company gets crushed. I really do, because that'd be great for him. That's kind of the dream with this industry, isn't it? It's like you create this company and it does really well, and then EA or Activision buys it and then crushes you. That's what happens. But you've made your billions by that point, and that's cool. I hope it's good I hope it works for him. I just don't see that his attitude, his persona, and his idea about what games are is going to make him a good publisher. I just don't see it.
I think the thing that annoys me the most about this is the implicit sort of suggestion that people go out there to make shit games.
Yeah.
Like it's this idea that the people who are pitching a game, they're planning to make a shit game, not a good game. Every game starts from a point of, I want to make something fun, because that's what games are, or I want to make something interesting or worthwhile playing. I'm going to adapt that because Pathologic exists. And the pitch for this company just came across like, if a game's bad, I'll know it's bad because they'll be bad. And that doesn't work. That does not work like that.
Yeah. And the other thing is, of course, the thing that bothers me about all of this is, again, it's going to convince people that this stuff is easy. Like, the video game industry is easy. Donkey's just going to throw money at the stuff it's going to publish. If he does happen to be successful with it, then you're going to have a whole legion of gamers out there that are absolutely convinced that just being able to spot a good game is kind of that easy. There is a potential that there is a potential there that, this initiative by this guy, because he has some truly rancid followers. This initiative by this guy is going to kind of reinforce a lot of the stuff that caused people to react the way they did to GTA 6. he is an influencer, and as such, he's kind of a fundamentally a disinformation machine within the games industry. And I don't think he's been particularly responsible about how he's doing things. And you know, as much as we like to say video games is an entertainment medium, it's all about games being fun and all that kind of stuff. It's also a serious business, you know.
Which
Yeah,
means
it's
anything
money.
which goes well, is going to be copied by, you know, Ubisoft or EA or something like that. So even if, you know, directly they're not going to be involved with, you know, publishing what we're going to publish sort of thing, there's going to be probably some kind of face of like the publishing arm, which is like some sort of like influencer, which is like, yeah, I've picked all these games we're publishing this year and they're going to be great because I know great games. Like, you know, you just know that like the AAA companies are going to do that if this goes well. And it's just going to continue to, you know, what they're going to publish is going to be a lot less creative and interesting because they're going to be like whatever's popular at the time, just to be like, yeah, we're doing something.
Yeah, it's all just marketing shit. It's a joy, isn't it? I love video games. I like when video games are fun.
Anyway,
Doesn't
after saying that, I probably can't pitch my game at Donkey, can I?
Nah, what's your game? No, pitch it to me. I'm Donkey. Pretend I'm Donkey. Pitch your game to me.
No, I'm just thinking if I mean, he's not going to see my podcast, so I can pitch my game to him. He can give me a couple.
The game is
cool
called Dunk
million.
on Donkey. It's like a toilet game. You press the flusher and it dunks.
It's a JRPG.
It's a JRPG. Imagine somebody's going to have the balls to pitch a JRPG to Donkey, and I hope he publishes it.
My video game is Xenoblade Chronicles 3 2.
Yeah, he didn't like it, did he? He didn't much like it.
But he hates games that are good, so it's fine. He liked Mario Odyssey, which is wrong, so.